Welcome to another edition of Hockey Unfiltered. Todd Lewis, along with former professional hockey player Justin Bourne. Ready to go this week, Justin? Couple of good topics. I think we'll have controversy for sure.
Good. I like that.
All right. Follow us along on Twitter, of course. At JT Bourne is Justin's account. Mine is at Todd Lewis Sports. All right. First one we want to touch on is something we've teased for a couple of weeks now, is the shootout. Justin, go ahead. Have first crack at this, because I know you've changed your opinion. Originally, you thought it was great, but now you'd like to see the shootout abolished in the NHL.
Yeah, well, like most fans of the game, I can enjoy a shootout when it's on TV. I like watching it and the display of skill and all that good stuff, but it just seems so nonsensical to have that decide points in the standings over the course of a season. To play 65 minutes of one sport and then to break down this tiny little section of it and award points based on that, it just doesn't work for me. So I think personally the 4-on-4, I think they go to another 5 minutes of 3-on-3, which I played in junior, and it was the most thrilling hockey, 2-on-1, both ways, and at least it's something a little more hockey-esque, don't you think?
No, I think it's at least as much a gimmick as the shootout, if not more. So then we'll go to 2-on-2, and then we'll have the goalie skate back and forth and try to decide it that way. So, 4-on-4 is a small portion of hockey outside of the overtime period to begin with. So isn't that a gimmick in itself? Now, if you want to go to 3-on-3, you're just adding a gimmick on the gimmick. So I'm with you. I love the shootout. You can't beat it for excitement when you watch it on TV or if you're at the arena. Everybody's on their feet, hanging on the edge of every shot. So I think it's great to decide it. Where I think we should change is put the emphasis on the first 60 minutes. What we've got now is, through the overtime, teams trying not to lose and at least securing 1 point. And even it goes back to almost halfway through third periods of half the games. Everybody's, let's not do anything too drastic. And they float through the last half of the third period. So let's make it a little interesting with the shootout. It's there. It will decide the game unless the players decide it in regulation. I'd like to see the overtime eliminated, period. Get rid of it. I don't care if it's 4-on-4, 3-on-3. You've got to decide it during regulation, or we go to the shootout. Now,
that's pure madness.
It is, absolutely. But let's do something even more drastic, because everybody hates the structure of the points right now. Well, you get one as a consolation if you tie after the 60 minutes. So losers shouldn't benefit. So the winner gets all the points. Either make it 2 points for a win, however it's decided, or if you want to compromise again, 3 points for a regulation win, 2 points for a shootout win, and then the loser gets the single point.
Okay, that's interesting, but I think they've already made a minor tinker there. So in the past, it used to be that it was points, and then I think that it would settle on, if you tied a team in points, the settling factor was goals for, goals against, whatever
right.
It was. And they've made it this year that regulation wins is the first tiebreak. So there's a new emphasis on trying to win in regulation, and actually teams are scoring more in regulation and overtime, as we've seen less shootouts this year than since the lockout saw the shootout come around. So I think they've made a couple nice tinkers to sort of get it to where it needs to be. I just need that stupid thing out of there. Let's play some 3-on-3, and at least there's some defense involved.
Okay, well, the only way that comes into play is if the teams are tied, and the mathematical chances of that are pretty slim. So I like my way better, and I think it really puts an emphasis on that 60 minutes. In the last 10, you're going to have teams going for it. It's like, we've got to get the extra point, especially down the chase in the playoff races. Look, we got a chance for a third point here, maybe, as opposed to just 2. I think it would make a big difference.
And so there's good incentive there. I see where you're coming from, but we're just not on the same side on that one.
Yeah, that's nothing new. All right. Let's shift over and talk about the other story that's still ongoing and probably will be for some time. Evgeni Nabakov does sign a deal after playing on the European continent, actually played in Russia for most of the year. Avoided that deal. Now he wants to come back to the NHL. Detroit Red Wings, who have some goaltending injuries, sign him knowing that they have to put him on waivers. Well, the New York Islanders put in a claim for Evgeni Nabakov, and if they didn't, somebody else would have. It just makes sense, a goaltender of that caliber. So now the fight match between Nabakov and Islander GM Garth Snow continues. The latest is He's been suspended without pay, which is within the rights of the Islanders to do. But it's a strange set of circumstances, and I loved your column about this, saying Nabakov's got to suck it up and go play for the Islanders.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely in that corner. And as you said, if I've heard a lot of people have sort of come at me after the column and said, why did the Islanders claim him in the first place? But the real question is why not? This isn't a why question. It's why not? He's a good goaltender, and he's DiPietro is always hurt. You got a couple AHL guys that can use a little more seasoning down in the A there. So you might as well get a guy. You're paying him peanuts. I think they were going to be paying him less than they were paying Poulin for, which is absurd. So it was sort of a no-brainer for them. And then from Nabakov's point of view, there is sort of a professional courtesy from an agent to reach out to teams and say, hey, look, we're not really going to grab, he's not going to report if you grab him. Let him know it's sort of, you're not getting him either way, so why do it? That never happened. So Garth Snow makes the right move and grabs him. And Nabakov has the audacity not to go after not playing that well in Russia, struggling in the past, turning down money with other teams in the NHL earlier in the season. It's one of those things that if you genuinely want to play hockey and you've been picked up by an NHL hockey team, it's unacceptable not to show up.
Well, you're right. I mean, he knew the rules going in. If he signed with Detroit, he's going to have to clear waivers. And I don't know what advice he was getting or who he was getting from, but it just made sense that somebody was going to pick him up. The interesting part that I want to ask, and I haven't heard anyone ask Garth Snow this, is that I understand why you picked him up. It makes perfect sense. Mm-hmm. But then why did you trade Dwayne Rolison? If you're saying that this is a move to improve your club, you got rid of your guy who was carrying the weight at the moment, and he's gone down to Tampa and done a great job for them.
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic point. I think they're in a situation with Rolison. I don't know if they're trying to get something for him. I'm not sure. Does he have a 2-year deal or a 1-year deal?
He's unrestricted after this year.
After this year. So
yes.
Maybe it was sort of a, try and get something for him while you can type of thing, which I'm sure it was. But still, you're right. You had a guy in place there. If your priority was having good goaltending and winning games, you would have kept him. Maybe they thought Poulin and Lawson one of them would come through and they're disappointed with their progress. But you're right. There's an odd bit of intent there, and I'm not sure exactly what his mindset was on that.
So the interesting part is going to be how this all plays out now as well, because Nabakov being suspended, if he sits out the rest of the year, the Islanders can carry forward that contract into next season, and Nabakov is still going to be on the hook to play one season at $575K for the New York Islanders.
Unbelievable, right? Yeah, that's one of those things where, he should have, if he didn't want to play for the Islanders and he wanted to play in North America, he's got to come and get that out of the way. Get that contract done with so he can start fresh. But it's, I think the Islanders have to petition to make that happen, but by all logic, they would win that since he didn't show up. So it's a bizarre thing. It forces Nabakov back to Russia where he was in the first place and doesn't make any more money or get back to North America. So it's just foolishness all around.
And the Islanders know how to fill out that petition because they did it with Alexei Yashin and got him for another year. So this is a saga that's going to go on for a little while, and I'm looking forward to it. So we'd be remiss if we didn't take notice of the great one, Wayne Gretzky, turning 50 this past week as well. Do you have a favorite Gretzky memory, just to wrap things up, Justin?
Yeah, well, I have a personal and then a memory and then one of just watching him play. But when I was a little kid, I got to go into the dressing room and he signed his game stick for me. So that was the beginning of my heartwarming for Wayne. But his slap shot I don't remember the year, but it was against the Flames in playoffs, top corner. It's just remarkable using the old sticks that they used that he could place a shot like that and shoot it that hard. If I picked up one of those things today, I don't think I could advance the puck towards the net. So that shot for me stands out in my mind from Wayne's career.
As anybody growing up in Canada will remember, 1987 Canada Cup, Gretzky to Lemieux into the top corner. It was a beautiful thing to see, and to win the game that way in the final seconds, that's got to be the best one. And well, maybe in 1993, Maple Leaf fans will hate me for this, but maybe when Gretzky scores the hat trick in Game 7 to knock the Leafs out of the play. There's still said about the high stick that wasn't called. Gary Fraser said, yeah, I missed it. But there was a penalty that should have been called against Doug Gilmour earlier that didn't get called either, so we'll call it a wash.
That one doesn't come up as much, though, eh?
No, weird. Funnily enough, it really doesn't. All right, thanks a lot for joining us on this edition of Hockey Unfiltered. Don't forget, follow us on Twitter, @JT Bourne and @Todd Lewis Sports. We'll see you again next time.
See you then.